Christian apologists and Christian philosophers alike use various arguments when arguing for the existence of God. These arguments can include the Cosmological argument, the ontological argument, the moral argument, and the argument that I'll be defending against Richard Dawkins in his book, The God Delusion, the Teleological argument, which is the old argument from design. There are advocates of the intelligent design movement who continue to appeal to examples of biological complexity for evidence of design. But in our world today, we see a growing interest and discussion in the fine-tuning of the universe for intelligent life. The teleological argument, based on the fine-tuning of the universe, can be formulated with the following three premises. Number one, fine-tuning of the universe is due to either physical necessity, chance, or design. Number two, it is not due to physical necessity or chance. And number three, therefore it is due to design. In regards to premise number one, when I speak of the fine-tuning of the universe, I am not speaking of design. For to do so would lead to us involved in a circular argument. Rather, scientists over the past 40 years have discovered the delicate and complex balances that were present in the initial conditions of the Big Bang, and that through these initial conditions, the universe has permitted intelligent life. Let's look at the premises now. Premise number one simply just gives us the three alternatives for explaining fine-tuning: physical necessity, chance, or design. So which is the best explanation for the fine-tuning? This is discussed in premise number two. First of all, physical necessity. This alternative states that the universe must be life permitting. The precise values of the constants and the quantities of the universe could not be otherwise. But is this plausible? Are life prohibiting universes impossible? Hardly. It is more likely life prohibiting than life permitting, due to the fact that the constants and the quantities of the universe are not determined by the laws of nature. Therefore, evidence and reason suggest that the fine-tuning is not due to necessity. How about the alternative of chance? Did we just really get lucky and inhabit a universe that permits life? No. The probabilities involved are so ridiculously remote as to put fine-tuning well out of reach of chance. But to keep this option alive, many have adopted the hypothesis known as the multiverse or a world ensemble. This is an infinite number of randomly ordered parallel universes of which our universe is a member of. And in the midst of this world ensemble, we find that by chance some universes are life permitting, as we see in the universe that we inhabit. The multiverse or the world ensemble is the hypothesis that Dr. Richard Dawkins holds to. And even Dr. Dawkins will admit that this alternative has its weaknesses, but he believes it's still superior to the alternative of design. As I stated in the book, The God Delusion, Dr. Dawkins objects to design, and he uses his central argument found in chapter 4. And that central argument states that we are not justified in inferring that design is the best explanation for the complex order of the universe. For another problem arises, namely, who designed the designer? I have two problems with Dr. Dawkins' objection. And the first one is, in order to determine the best explanation, you need not have an explanation of the explanation. Suppose that you were hiking through the woods and you come across a Rolex watch. Clearly, you would be justified in inferring that that watch is due to design. But it's not necessary that you know who the designer was, where he is, where he comes from, or even how the watch got there. As I said, in order to determine the best explanation, you need not have an explanation of the explanation. If you get yourself involved in this, you'll find yourself in the midst of an infinite regress of explanations, and nothing will ever get explained. To determine the best explanation, you need an explanation of the explanation. And for that explanation, you need another explanation of the explanation of the explanation. And this could go on into infinity. And as Dr. William Lane Craig stated, science would be destroyed because nothing would ever be explained. My second problem with Dr. Dawkins' objection is that he assumes that the divine designer is just as complicated as the universe. But this is clearly false. For the pure mind or consciousness without a body, God is a remarkably simple entity. The mind and the soul are not physical objects, which are composed of parts. In contrast, the universe is complex in all of its constants and quantities, but the divine mind is an amazingly simple. Dr. Dawkins is just confused in believing, when it comes to mind's ideas, that the mind is just as complex. Now, the mind's ideas can be complex if you think about calculus or Einstein's theory of relativity, but the mind itself is a simple substance without parts. So in conclusion, Dr. Dawkins' central argument found in his book does nothing to show that the alternative of design is inferior to the hypothesis of the multiverse or world ensemble. It's also interesting to note that in the face of opposition from people like Keith Ward and Richard Swinburne, Dr. Dawkins continues to hold to this multiverse or world ensemble hypothesis. So I've shown you three alternatives for the explanation of the fine-tuning of the universe. But clearly, the best explanation for the fine-tuning of the universe is design. Thank you.